Yay. I'll just set the frame. So since we're in the community, so you guys are in for a treat, I think. We'll see. No, just kidding, because it's about me, so it's okay. Sarah and I are in similar groups, and she reached out, hasn't done a live interview yet, and I was excited to be her first. So we're in the Do the Thing community, the new collaboration network group, and you're going to get to see Sarah's first interview, which is always fun, getting to do that. So you want to introduce yourself first so everyone knows who you are, what you're doing, and then we'll kind of dive into the interview. But before we do that, there's one more thing. I don't know if you want to see it, this tech part, because I'm also showing her how to go live on Zoom too. Do you want to just see it? The part of what I do? Yeah, I'll show you. So the other thing I do when I'm in there, so you guys get to watch the behind the scenes version, is I just pin it. Oh, hey, Benjamin. I pin it here so then people get notified. And then I like it. Oh, hey, Benjamin. I don't know why. I pin it here, mute it there. And so good to see you. And then I just hit like an everyone. We are live with Sarah's. Everyone likes to be everyone's first. And how many times do we get to be a first nowadays? There we go. Yeah. So share about you and then we can get started.
Okay, cool. So I don't know, a little bit about what I do or how we met or
you. It's all you. Okay. Yeah, let's start with you. Yeah.
So I'm an energy worker mainly, and I've worked with one-on-one clients now for about 13, 14 years. I'm a massage therapist for 25 years. So I do a lot of one-on-one work and I love it. I'm a group fitness instructor. So I do a whole bunch of stuff where it's like time for money. And I really like the idea of being able to reach more people and have it be more of a one-to-many instead of one-to-one. I mean, my vision is to change the world, and one at a time is a little bit slow. So
that's so good.
Right? I mean, you only have so many hours in the day, just like everybody. And so the more people you can talk to at once, I think the better, the more impact, the bigger impact you can have for good. And I think our world needs more good right now.
Yeah.
And then I heard Eileen on an interview with somebody else that I follow. And then I really liked her world, hopped into her world. And then I saw you presenting and I loved everything that you were talking about. So then I started kind of following you and figuring out I love how real and raw. And I mean, this is what it is. I love that. You do it anyways. You do the thing. You show up. You're like, I don't know, it's going to be messy and I'm going to fall down, but who cares?
Yeah, because I think that's the thing that holds everyone back, right? But when you can kind of bring people into your experience, that's why I love this founding member concept of getting the 100 founding members. It's because they're part of it at the beginning. And so it's like you're growing together through the process and co-creating whatever it is. But most people are scared to have people see them in a certain way, but it's actually really liberating and freeing when you're able to do it with people on the beginning level too.
Absolutely. And thank you for that permission over and over. It's fascinating. I think a lot of times we hear people say that, oh, it's fine to mess up, but then you don't ever see them messing up, but being imperfect.
Yeah.
You're not often on the journey from the beginning. You see them when they're more polished. And so I love that even though you are totally polished in what you do, you still just kind of laugh at yourself and you're like, well, I messed that up. And you point it out because really, we think we have to be perfect for people, but I don't like really being around anybody super perfect because then I feel super inferior. So the more human you can see a person, I think the better. The more you can learn like, oh, they put their pants on like I do, or they're not wearing pants to a Zoom meeting like me. You just feel a lot more, I don't know, just kind of comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's my funny claim to fame is I was at Dr. TV's event. It was so good last week already? Yeah, last week. And she had this part. It was really fun. She had this part where we got to talk about our premium offers. And she was asking people who they wanted to go first. And she asked me to go first. And I'm like, you just want me to show the imperfect pitch. So then everyone opens up. And so anyway, that is my claim to fame. But it is true. This happened even when I was applying. I was part of this TEDx cohort when I was applying to TEDx. And we're on this group call. And they're like, who wants to go first? You have to pitch your 1 minute kind of pitch in order to apply. And I raised my hand. I was in the car with my daughter. My daughter was driving. And I'm sitting on the Zoom. And they asked, and I'm like, I'll just go first. And they're all like, thank God. And then when I go, it's terrible. Like, it's awful. But then everyone else was like, I'll go. So I think it's owning that. It feels good. But then what happened was I think this was before we met, I was doing a Find Your Voice challenge a few months ago where I normally just pitch it to my warm audience. But this time, the whole idea with the stuff I do, it's like you have your warm audience, you're able to nurture them, get to know them. And then once you do that, you're able to then take it out to the world and go cold, right? Where you could put Facebook ads and put the fire on it. And so I had converted the Find Your Voice challenge a bunch of times. So I figured, okay, I'm going to take it out to the cold. So I did these videos. I don't know if you've seen those videos, but they're on Instagram and some of them are on Reels and stuff. And they're like these more polished, if you call it, videos where I'm saying I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get people to find their voice through this thing, be real on video. And I fell into massive imposter syndrome so much that I did this whole live because the pressure was so much. And anyway, it was crazy, but it is true, right? It's like, then you have to be something where you think you do. But I realized, you don't need to be anybody when you just don't. And that's exhausting. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Zoom pitch is the new elevator pitch. I got echoed. Are we hard to hear? Let me know because I could always I can use my mic if you guys want. Hi, Neil. Good to see you.
Oh, yeah. I have a mic too if it's weird.
I'll just do that because my Zoom has been a little weird lately. Let me do that. Plus, you get to see polished looks since we're talking about polish.
Can I grab my mic too? It's in the other room, but I can't.
No, I think we'll be okay. 1 second. Yeah, let me just see that.
Ooh, right.
I get podcast Stacey.
Wow, that's super awesome.
It's funny. So for my so just so it's clear, I did not have a microphone. Well, I tried to get a microphone for, I don't even know, 80 episodes. I had 80 episodes, not a mic, but I got different mics, but none of them worked. And so then there would be times though where I'm like, oh, I can't record. I don't have the right mic. That's why when I did the podcast challenge, I'm like, no mic, because it's just confusing. And so finally, I ended up getting a mic, but I only use it for the podcast typically because when I go live, there's something about the energy that I like just having all of it around me. But anyway, I'm good right now. Awesome. You're making me feel like we're in a safe space, so I can have that.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes me happy. I absolutely love doing that. I have a question for you, if that's
okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So you are so about being raw and real and in the moment. Do you remember when that started?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think it's the falling down part, right? Where when I owned my staffing company, 20 years in that business, right? And it was I want to say I was always myself with it, but I definitely, in the company, I was very much myself. But when people would outside want me to do stuff or talk to them, I thought I had to be the CEO of this thing. And so I just never was comfortable owning that also because I felt like this unsophisticated CEO, which I realized what it was. Well, that's another story for another day. But I realized that just came up last week. But I felt like I had to be something, right? And so I didn't want to speak outside of my company because I thought people would find me out. Maybe I didn't know something that I was supposed to know. And so anyway, and there's more to that story where I was giving too much to my everything. I was kind of like losing myself and my identity and all of that. Then when I exited that business, I went through this huge identity crisis where people that I felt were my family, imagine 20 years, right? We had so many employees that had been with us for 15 plus years. They went through the recession, COVID, babies. We even had, I have a video online for that company during COVID, just showing we had 1 year. I think you heard this story. Did you hear that? Did you stay till the end on Saturday? Okay. I talked about Kelsey, who was the employee that had passed away suddenly, and she was 24. And that's when everyone had babies. Well, everyone had babies the next year. So we even did this baby photo experience. So we had 7 of our key managers had babies because after she passed away, she's 24. They're like, okay, everything I want to do, I'm going to do, right? So we had this baby time. And so we did photo shots. We did photo ops with all the babies. And so every year, we did 3 years in a row, we have the most adorable pictures of these babies. And anyway, we're very much close to their families. And then when I exited that business, I stayed in touch with a couple people, but that's it. It was like, oh my gosh, it was all about the company. I don't know. It was weird. It was like we just lost touch and I no longer mattered to people or something. I don't know what it was. And I tried to stay in touch, but it didn't work. But anyway, through that, then all this stuff happened. And then I just got tired of just trying to be something that I felt like I wasn't. And so I think it was just wearing down all these layers of who you are, who you think you're supposed to be. And then all of a sudden you start to come out. And then what happened was the podcast started. And that's when I'm just connecting with people on the podcast and they're telling me their story about how they overcame their struggles and achieved success. And I just felt really connected to people. And so I then just started tapping more into who I was. And I think I mentioned this where I didn't even have the video on. So it's just pure, it wasn't even like the video was on. It's not even that I didn't have the video. There was no video on. So we have this really intimate time where we're not even looking at each other, which almost felt more liberating in a way. And I don't know, I just really dialed in. And then, I don't know, it was maybe 10 episodes in. That's when I realized it wasn't no longer just about doing the thing that I helped people with. Because when I started, I wanted to help people do the thing, break past the mental baggage that keeps us stuck. But by the 10th episode, I realized, wait, I've not only got to do the thing and help people do the thing, we've got to do it from what's deep inside of us, what our internal knowing is. And so then I started bringing in experts. And then, I don't know, I just kept being myself then, which just felt really alive. And then when I started my first community, and I was scared, I think I mentioned this too, I was scared to go live. So I went on Zoom, and worse, I think the very first one I did myself because I was showing the structure of the challenge. But after that, I still had experts come on with me because I wasn't comfortable being alone yet. And so I think though, the more then I started getting more confident basically. And the more people got impacted by the stuff that I was doing, the more confident I became. So yeah, it was a really slow but yet fast journey because it was through just constantly putting my voice out and tapping into what I was doing, and then having people around it amplified it.
That's so awesome. I think one of my favorite parts about that is that you were scared and you did it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize that happens. So in massage therapy school, you made me think of this. The very first day, they said, okay, you're going to get under the sheets. You're going to take off all your clothes for a massage. And we were all like, we've never met these people. We're in this room in massage school. There's all these tables set up and you just have a sheet and you crawl under there and you have to figure out how to get undressed and stuff. And we were all totally freaked out. We didn't know we were going to be asked to take off our clothes. And that's kind of what you did. You got on immediately. You were uncomfortable, but that's where you start. The only way you gain confidence is by doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't gain confidence in doing a podcast unless you do a podcast. I can't gain confidence in interviewing somebody until you interview somebody and you're weird and uncomfortable. So I just love the example that you set and that you keep finding new ways to help people do things that they're uncomfortable with.
Yeah, thank you. And I think a lot of people think they have to, we were talking about earlier, they have to jump in the freezing cold water when they're doing something. And so then it takes you forever to want to do it. Because who wants to really do that, right? We want to inch in sometimes. And sometimes there's a place for that. But there's also, if you think that you're not going to be, like if you see that you're not jumping in the cold water, then you got to take a step. And then when you take the step, then you're able to take another step. So I feel like I really wish people would know that more, because there's always such a big gap for where they are and where they need to be. If you can go this big gap, then do it, right? Do the thing. But if you can't, then you got to, time is everything. Especially in my world, I've got the over 50 people happening, right? So it's like, we got to run. We cannot be inching along. And so it's like, take this step then. So then you could take the next step. And then all of a sudden it truly compounds.
Absolutely. And I think, so what I heard, that sometimes there's this gap, and you made me think of my kids. Sometimes they're standing at the edge of the pool and they're like, I want to get in. I'm like, just get in. They're like, I can't. Can you push me? And so that made me think of kind of what you were saying, that you've created so many communities that for people who need to get pushed, they can get pushed. And for people who enjoy pushing, they can be there to push. All the conversation, the community, and the different communities that you've built allow people who are scared to put a foot in or to put a toe in or to just say, somebody just push me in. And then all of a sudden you're there to push. So that's really cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about that community that you're just launching right now?
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. And Benjamin just asked a couple of questions. Are you okay? Okay, good. And Brita just said, that's a great point, Sarah. That's good. Thanks, Brita. Good to see you. Yeah. So he said, how did you find your first experts to speak with? And did you need to pay those first ones somehow? Yeah. So it's such a good question, because a lot of people wonder, right? What do you get the experts from? So I have a dare that I give in the program I'm doing, and it's called the Life Assets Dare. And I have an episode that anyone can listen to it on the podcast. Amelia Case, if you look up Life Assets, I'm trying to remember the number. I could find it later if you guys remind me. I'll look it up. But it's really good. And that's where I help you tap into all of those skills that you have had in your life and those experiences. And then guess what you get to do? So cool. You get to reach out to the people that were part of that helped you along the way. And so a lot of my first experts was a coach that I had worked with, 2 coaches from the very beginning. So the dating challenge, one of the experts I brought in was my holistic coach, Dr. Nancy De Andrade. I brought in another coach I had worked with before that, Dr. Amelia Case. And then I brought in erotic blueprint therapist that I had met at an event that was just the coolest girl ever. And so we met. So that's another life asset. So it's any events. It doesn't have to be a coach you worked with. It could be someone that you've gone to something with that you've been, I mean, with her, I met her and her energy was just where you just felt the pull, right? I have to talk to her. And so anyway, so she came on and she was super fun. So that's where you get your experts from. It's from people that have been in your life. And yeah, it's exciting. And so speaking of that, that's where the collaboration network is really the newest community. Thanks for bringing that up, that I'm like, my heart is there with you guys. And I'm so glad you're here because we just think we have to do it alone and we don't, right? Originally, I created this group because I have this audience accelerator program. The people in there were having a hard time, some of them promoting their stuff, right? And everything that I've done in there now has changed and it's different. I've simplified and I've taken out all the things that were hard and made it easy where it's not even about promoting anymore. I think you heard that part where it's all about just contributing now. But at the time I was like, oh, I wanted a space where I could kind of show them more, right? Maybe adding them in hot seats and different ways to add to their network. But it turned out it was something that I'd been craving. I just didn't realize it with my staffing company. It was very competitive and cutthroat. And I was constantly having to meet with the owners, the different companies to work out strategies to have their salespeople stop messing with my salespeople. And it was ridiculous. And so the nice thing about the online world is here we are, right? We're able to just do this and say, what do you need? How can I help you? And then it's like back and forth. And it's just the coolest way to play with people, right? Because we're able to do it together. And that's what I love. And so, yeah, this space is meant to be a place where we're able to do that on such a high level. And I'm putting together an expert panel right now. I just finalized the last 2 experts this morning. So that'll be happening sometime in July. And the people on it are incredible. And it's going to be exciting because they're going to help me. That's how I do everything, is I always put an expert panel together because that helps bring, it's collaboration. It brings all those ideas fresh and it gets me into how I want to really create something. So I've done it for every challenge that I've done. I always put an expert panel around it because you can't just come up with all your own things, right? You got to talk to other people and that's what brings it more into your stuff. That's what's always so funny whenever anyone tells me, oh, whatever they say, you've heard some of the stuff. And I'm like, no, it's literally nothing's my thing. It's like, I'm just getting ideas from everyone and then I'm bringing them in and putting it its own way, which ends up being really cool to work.
Yeah, well, then it's super legit too, because then you've got the for reals expert. You know, and Benjamin says on here, when he asked about how do you find your first experts to speak with, I think it's easy to be like, well, I don't know anybody, but we do. We do know. And an expert could be, like you said, a therapist that you talk to, or a coach, or a mentor, or a friend. Wait a minute, you're an expert in this. You own your own business. All of a sudden, you start to see these people, I think, and then you just have to ask. And sometimes it's pay to play. Somebody, I think maybe Benjamin asked the same thing. Sometimes it's pay to play. You get a group and you're in there and then you sort of have more access to different people, but not always.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have this collaboration network and I see Jana's here. Hey, Jana. She said the collaboration group is awesome. I'm thankful to be in it. And the nice thing is you guys could always post in here and say, oh, I'm looking for someone that X, right? Especially if you have, for those of you that have or want communities, it's great because once you find out what the people want to learn, then even if you do know it, it's okay to also connect with someone else that knows it too, because it's always a different version. I could be talking to someone else that builds audience or someone else. Like tomorrow, I'm interviewing somebody who can help you grow a podcast and automate it, right? And I have experience in that, but I'm bringing him on because he brings a whole nother level to it, right? And so it's really great. And then potentially there's a collaboration then that started when we're able to do it together. So
I've heard the story about hamburgers. McDonald's isn't the only place that make hamburgers. And most people would say that that's not even their top choice. But if other people didn't make hamburgers, that would be our only choice. So I love that you collaborate with people who do the same thing you do, because you get to learn something else. I'm sure that every interview, both people take something away. I mean, I already have 4 pages of notes from these 15 or 20 minutes that we have. It's so cool what we're able to learn from others' life experiences and just by having the experience itself. So that's really awesome.
And then also when the communities that you want to serve in, it's great because then you know where to get experts too, right? Because Drew, the guy that I ended up getting the other day for the YouTube one, I don't know if you saw that one. That one's so good, where he told us all about YouTube. That just came from me posting in one of my groups saying, hey, who knows someone that's crushing it on YouTube? We had met at an event briefly, but other than that, we were really new to each other. And it was great because I immediately had this amazing expert that came from a curated community that is really part of my life assets world. So
absolutely. I love that you just weren't afraid to ask. You just put it out there. So the worst thing really that's going to happen is there won't be someone there and you're in the exact same place you were, right? That's not really even that bad.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. No, that's such a good point.
What a great example. Awesome. So I'm curious about this too. What is your favorite thing that you do?
Oh, man. Yeah. So it's so funny because I don't know what it is about setting people up on podcasts. I am weirdly obsessed with it. I think I know what it is. It's because most people, when they are thinking about doing a podcast, and this was me, I remember there was one point during COVID, I was still in my staffing company, and my friend of mine, she finally got me to go on video because she's like, you have to speak up. You're the face of the business, the CEO of the company. You have to tell them what's going on during COVID, right? Because it was crazy with the employees and with companies and all the stuff. And so there are a few videos online about one does not have my face on it and the other one does. But my eyes are closed the whole time because I didn't like being on video or not, had never even really done it. And so.
And really quick, can I just say, I don't think anybody really loves being on video unless you're an actor. And even then I've heard they don't watch themselves back. So I think that's super normal.
Yeah. And so what's weird is I like it now, but only if it's with, I'm talking to you or where I know I've got people there, then it's okay. Cause I know I'm talking to someone. It's just when you're in this vacuum of yourself, it's really hard, which I didn't identify. That's interesting until right now. Cause I kept thinking I do video now, but you're right. I don't like it if I'm alone. Then it's not fun. But yeah, so that's why I do the thing. I don't create content. I create conversations because it's a lot more fun to do that. Yeah. So at that point, she was like, oh, you should probably do a podcast. And I was like, podcast? And then she showed me all these things you had to do a podcast. And I was like, oh, no, I cannot do that. And then when I started my podcast, I love the founder. He is so cool. I ended up investing in his platform because I just am in love with what he's doing. He's doing Boys and Girls Club stuff where he's one of the selected platforms for helping the kids start their own podcasts. And so I invested after I did the podcast challenge because I loved just being able to give people the simple way to do it. Although whenever I help people set them up on podcasts, it's platform agnostic. They can set it up wherever they want. So I'm not doing it because of that. It's just another kind of thing. But in that 5 minutes that it takes me to set someone up on their podcast and I see their face just be like, wait, I have a podcast? What do you mean? And they're like, well, what do I do? I'm like, you just go on Zoom and you record videos just like this. Or if you're going live already or you have something anywhere, you just upload it to the podcast. And they're like, well, wait, how does it get on Apple? I'm like, oh, it's just a one-time setup and you could put it on Apple and Spotify. And then anytime, once it's synced, you just hit publish and it goes on all the platforms. And just the awe of that face moment, it's more than anything I could ever want. And so, yeah, that is my number one favorite thing to do. Yeah. My number two favorite thing to do is helping people set up on a Facebook group. But the podcast is beyond anything because that just is streamed everywhere. And it's just such a simple thing. And I think a lot of people think they could probably start a Facebook group, whereas the podcast feels harder, which is why I like to do it. Because I really like helping people overcome a tech block.
Okay.
Yeah. Because once you overcome a tech block, then it's like, wait, what else can I do now? I've just started a podcast. And then all of a sudden it opens up a little bit more.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's cool. You like showing people the simplicity.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's just not even that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Jana just said, video can make my mind scramble. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that we identified that. I didn't think, Sarah, because I haven't thought about that until now, that it's different. Yeah. It's like, that's why I like video, because I like connecting with people. We're doing it either we're together or I've got people in the comments that I'm talking to. But yeah, if I'm trying to do something for even my the only time when my programs or challenges or whatever, if I'm doing those, I try to do 5-minute videos and then I give people a dare. Right now I'm doing it for the program I'm starting in August is I have to record all these videos. But when I record the best, it's when I have people waiting for the video. So when I did Find Your Voice as the beta, it was like I recorded the video and then the next day I got to see what they did. And then I got to record another video. So it was really easy because I'm able to like, okay, now I know what they need because I just saw it. So yeah.
I like that whole people are waiting. I tend to do a similar thing if I'm in a group with a whole bunch of people and they give me time for questions. I put my hand up immediately. Then I'm like, shoot, what am I even going to ask? So, but it forces me.
I love that.
But I love it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to schedule this live thing. That means I have to show up and I have to talk about something. Because if I'm here, people are going to be disappointed. So yeah, and talking face to face, we've gotten so used to just texting and looking down at a phone with no face that I think that video, it really connects people a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really, really awesome. Okay, so apart from the challenges of being on video, any other challenges that are almost stopped you but didn't because you're like, forget it, it's not going to stop me, I'm just going to power through?
I mean, how long do we have?
Right?
Yeah, let's think. So really,
maybe even a tactic for doing it because you just are good at seeing the benefit. It's almost like you see, this is where I want to be, and I know I have to do these dumb things to get there. So here, it's almost like the goal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay, I have that. Let's just tell you. Wait, Frida said, too funny. She does the same thing, Sarah. And then Jana said, what a great idea. Put your hand up right away. Yeah, I'm thinking.
Oh no,
it's so smart.
I gotta ask a question. I'm gonna look stupid.
But my problem is I'll do that and then I'll be like, I don't remember what my question was.
That's why you gotta write it down.
I know, write it down. Yeah. But yeah, I think so. When I was in college, I had this job, which was kind of my pivotal moment in life. And I sold books door to door, and they're so smart. And this is why I want to do a live event someday. I have that in my head that I really want to do this because there's something about being immersive, the immersion in a live experience that just really, I was thinking about when I was launching
in person.
In person. Yeah.
Live, but in person.
Yeah, in person.
Like, high five.
Clarifying.
Okay.
Yeah, because even now I'm launching this thing right now and it's August 5th is when it starts. I'm like, oh, do I want to do it in person or do I want it online? I went through this whole thing. I'm not ready to do in person yet, but so planting a seed for you guys for the future. But when I sold books door to door, where I'm going with this is I went to school, Florida State, which is in Tallahassee, and they always send you to another state because they don't want you in the same city as where you live because that's where your friends and family are. And it's really hard to get this, everyone. It's really hard to open yourself up to a new identity when you're around the people that know you, right? You almost need to go into a new environment in order to, and I don't mean it doesn't have to be this drastic, obviously, but that's why I like community so much, right? And being around people with shared goals. Because I did this where then I first year we went to Michigan and then another year I went to Iowa and I was around people that I had just met the first year and we had the shared goal, which was selling books. But go back to your question this is where I learned action cures fear. So anytime I'd be uncomfortable going to a house or knocking on the door or whatever it was, I would say action cures fear. This is also where I learned how to have fun because we would just do the most ridiculous thing. In the mornings, we would do these meetings right before we'd go out. 7 a.m, I don't even remember I don't even know. So 7 a.m, we meet at the Bob's Big Boy. And then at 8, we'd be knocking on doors. If someone knocked on my door at 8 o'clock, I'd be like, what are you doing? I don't even know. I was talking about brainwashing back then. But anyway, and we'd go till 8 o'clock at night. It was crazy. But anyway, it was great times though, because we're around the people that are doing it too. So it didn't feel weird. And so, so we'd be at the Bob's Big Boy. And I don't know if you've ever been to one of those, but he's got the whole thing and you're rubbing him and you're like, buy the books. And I don't know, the whole thing's just fun, right? And then when I'm knocking on the doors, I'm singing Hakuna Matata and it's just having fun with it. And everything was just fun. I mean, it really even the days that were raining were fun because I'm like, oh, I get to go at the time. Now it sounds crazy, but go inside someone's house because they're going to feel bad for me as a college student. They're going to let me in. I'm going to have my best day. So anyway, I think that's what helps is when you could work some tricks that help you. It didn't even feel like tricks at the time, but I think looking back, maybe it was some reframes that helped the most.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Action cures fear.
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like too, being around the right people who either believe in you or who are already doing it. So get in that dang room, right? Get around the right people.
Yeah.
They're going to make you be accountable, but also show you that, look, I'm doing it too. And it's like, oh, okay, well, if you can do it. I heard once that people who are addicted to drugs feel like everybody is because that's their community. And so people who are really successful, if they surround themselves with other people who are successful, then everybody is successful. So it's kind of this idea of, who do you want your everybody to be? If you want your everybody to be brave and do the thing, you join the community, right? The collaboration you did, and you get people who've had those same experiences to be like, yeah, I had this experience, it was amazing. And yeah, I had this experience and it was amazing. And
yeah, it's true. And this is why I like helping people build communities around a shared goal, because if you don't have the same goal and you're all wanting different things, it's hard to connect. But if there's a common purpose, a common goal, then there's so much that can come around that, right? And then your normal support network is great, but they can't help you with that goal. They don't understand, right? And so the community is what helps uplift whatever the message is the person's trying to do and whatever they're trying to change in the world. And I loved what you said. I wrote that down too. Yeah, if I want to change the world, one at a time is a little bit slow. So that's what the community is, the antidote for that, right? Because you're putting them in with the shared goal and then all the people around that. And then they're not feeling alone. They're feeling supported. They're feeling accountable. It's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, because I think that happens a lot even at school. When you major in something, you go into a field where everybody's kind of learning the same thing. And we don't often do that in life. We don't often surround ourselves with the kind of people we want to become. We almost just let life happen to us instead of for us. So I love the idea of these groups where you can really ask people what they want and make it happen. Fine, let's all get together. We all want this same thing. Here we are. Let's all meet in a place and hang out together and talk about this and figure out how to lift each other and get going. So I just love it.
Yeah. And then what happens too is it's like when people can share, and I saw Kimmy's here, so she knows this. She's been in a lot of the Do the Thing challenges. So hey, Kimmy, when people can share their excuses for not wanting to reach the goal, you see that you're not alone in your limiting beliefs too, right? Because a lot of people, they'll have limiting beliefs around something, but they'll think that they're the only ones or there's something wrong with them. But when you're in a community, you get to see whatever people's challenges are, but it's not in a way of, I don't know, trauma bonding is the right word to use, but it's not in a way of downness. It's in a way of, I want this goal, right? That's why I always like putting it with a goal and not something negative, because if you're wanting something and you're sharing your excuses, it's a good because you're saying how you're going to overcome them versus why those excuses live. And then the other thing that I love is I'm doing the formula with you right now, just, the Do the Thing formula, but I love the educate part of I'm Game, which is where you're in this community where people have a shared goal and there's some people in there that are learning. And then there's other people in there that have been 2 steps ahead, so they get to teach. And so it's this back and forth, again, going back to collaborations, this beautiful thing where you're getting to contribute to others by being there, but then you're also getting to learn from others. And so it's just an amazing way to, that's why it's really the ultimate purposeful thing you could do really is to either be in the space like this or to create the space, because you're all part of something bigger than you could be when you're by yourself.
Awesome. 2 steps ahead, you can help those behind you. That's such a good way to learn yourself and to kind of reiterate inside of you that, oh, wait, I have done this and I can do this. And then see somebody who's doing it, even though maybe they were freaked out. I think people think that those who achieve higher goals or achieve more success aren't freaked out and don't get nervous and are always totally comfortable. And I found that to be quite the opposite. They just say, okay, well, I'm super uncomfortable. There's tons of opposition.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this world's about to change. And it's cool to see people just like that community of people moving forward and doing it anyways. It's not that you're comfortable and it's easy and this is really cool. I'm going to do this really hard thing, but I'm so comfortable in it. No, it's usually like, well, I may throw up while I'm doing it, but I'm going to do it because I got to get it out.
Yeah. It's such a good point that a lot of people don't talk about. It's that they think they see people, right? Like you doing live now, doing all this stuff, right? And everything that you've been doing with your business. And it's the untouchable thing, but they don't realize you still have the fears. You still have I'm imagining, right? You still have the things that come up, especially as you go to new levels We all do, right? But everyone thinks that they're alone in that. They think that it's just them. And so the more you're able to be around other people, the more you're able to see that is true. And even if it's someone that you think is a million steps ahead of you, you still see it. They have the same thing. You wouldn't believe how many people that the big asks when I wanted to collaborate or whatever with them or have them on an expert panel, and how many of them would be like, will I have anything that could be of value? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're blank. How do you even possibly think that? And it's like, we all have the same things. That's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. So you and I haven't met in person. Maybe this upcoming week. I don't know if you're going to be in Houston.
Oh, I am. I'm coming. Yeah.
We'll high-five each other.
Yeah.
It's funny. So you can't see, but I have a mohawk and I've got shaved in stuff. And I have people come up to me all the time. They're like, your hair's so cool. I wish I could do that. And I'm like, I don't cut my own hair. I go to my professional and they're like, well, but I couldn't. And I think that is maybe why a lot of people don't start things, is the whole, I could never talk to Stacey live because she's been doing it for so long. I could never cut my hair. I could never, whatever, talk to the cute boy. I don't know, whatever the I could never is. And it's not because you were comfortable in the first place. It just so it's neat to be around people who are brave enough to do stuff that they're too scared to do, but then they do it anyways.
Yeah, it reminds me of, so I ended up, I don't know if you heard this part of my story. I got into stand-up comedy for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was crazy. It really came from when I first decided to write the book, Do the Thing, which I think you've started to see those stories out there. That book does not exist yet, but I've started to write the book. But I was like, I felt like this imposter doing the thing, because really I had my company and I've done a lot of stuff, selling books and all this stuff that I'd done, but it just felt like I needed something new. And so I'm like, in order for me to really be the expert on Do the Thing, I need to do something that I'm terrified of. So it came up that stand-up comedy was the thing. And then wish I could find those voice notes, because at the time I was voice noting myself for the book because I was going to track my progress. It's like track your journey or whatever. But then I don't have the voice notes anymore because I was like, I'm not doing it. No one's going to ever know. And then 6 months later, because who wants to do that? At that time, I wasn't even really speaking yet. I don't even think I had my podcast yet. So it was really early on. And so I hid it under a rug. And then a friend of mine, 6 months later, at this point, I had at least been doing my podcast. I think I was even applying for TEDx or something. I don't remember. But I was further along. And then a friend of mine was like, I'm joining the stand-up comedy class. It's 5 weeks. And I'm like, a class? I could do that. So I joined the class. And it was great. The first 2 weeks, I'm going up and you're not even being funny. You're just telling your story. You record it. And then people laugh at the points that they laugh. And then you delete everything else. So it's really easy when you're just in a group of people doing it. You're just telling stories. And then as they laugh, you cut everything else out. So it's not as hard as you think. But then at the third week, he's like, by the way, we're doing this show where you guys are going to perform your bit. And I was like, I don't know how I missed that part of this whole thing, but I did not think we were performing on a stage. But it was funny though, because if I would have known that we were performing on a stage when I first signed up, and I'm glad I don't read well because I think it was probably on there and I just missed it when I was reading it. I don't think I would have signed up, because it would have been like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do that, right? Because I didn't see it, thankfully. By the second or third week, I was like, okay, I guess I could do it. But I didn't tell anyone. I only told a couple, my boyfriend and then maybe a couple of my closest friends, but no one else went. But I ended up putting that video on YouTube. So it's actually kind of funny. But the point is sometimes the thing feels too scary, but that's where the inching comes from. And I'm just glad that I never knew that it was going to be a show, or I never would have started, because that's where I've gotten my stage experience is only from this amateur stand-up comedy thing. And I paid $300 to do. It's nothing sexy about it. It's just something I've been doing. And that's how I'm practicing being in front of people, basically.
That's so wonderful. I love it. Thanks for sharing that story. That's so great. There are lots of comments that I have everything open and I'm trying to see different things. And somebody said, Benjamin said, that's what I often get when people see my beard. Girl with beard. Yeah. I'm out of that one. I don't know about you, Stacey, but my beard's not coming in.
Look at you. You're doing good. Normally the comments take a little bit to interact with. I'm really impressed right now. It's so good. If you guys didn't see, because I saw B's joining. Hey, B, this is Sarah's first live with a person, right? It's your first one with a person.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Interviewing. I talk to a screen and I see people, but not anybody else can throw a curveball and make me fall in.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
But somebody asked earlier how I wanted to change the world with doing massage therapy. That may have been Benjamin too. I saw that go by. My education, by teaching people energy work and massage. And that's how I figure I'm going to get out there and start getting people to touch each other. Because how weird. Sorry, I don't mean to. I just want to answer that question really quick.
Yeah.
It's weird. I am a massage therapist. So I touch people in the most, it's going to sound creepy. It's not creepy. It's a very setting, right? I don't touch their bits, but it's intimate because I touch them and they feel something and they're able to communicate with me. And it's so beautiful. And I want more families to have that. I want moms and dads and brothers and sisters to be able to lovingly touch one another. Often it's a spank or it's a poke or it's a tickle or something that's at someone instead of connecting them. So that's how I plan on changing that. So whoever asked that.
Yeah. And I feel that so much because there was a point, this was back in my down part of my kind of journey where I was just searching for stuff and I forgot this until now. I got into something with essential oils for a little bit and I learned I can't remember what it's even called now, but it was some kind of, I got certified in some level of massage, not what you're talking about, but
raindrop therapy kind of a deal.
Yeah, I would love to do what you just said, but something with aromatherapy and essential oils. And I got certified. I even got to do it on a few of my friends. And then I've done it with my daughter and her friend and whatever. It was just using essential oils to do it. And it does. It's so soothing to know that you're part of that healing process for someone. I could imagine how that would feel being able to teach that because that was something maybe I'll go back. I even got a massage table. I just need to now remember what all that was, or maybe you'll tell me. Yes, I do, because there's something about that that's just so powerful, right? When you're able to heal someone through that modality.
Oh, absolutely. And we've all got in us. That's the thing, is we've got it. I mean, babies, they die. It's called failure to thrive syndrome when they're not receiving that touch. We need that beautiful healing touch and we just don't receive it enough. I don't think, especially from those we love. A lot of people will come and pay me as a perfect stranger to have this intimate time where they can feel loved and healed. I want more people to be able to do that. So thanks for asking that question on there. And Benjamin Chambers, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's hilarious because I hear, and I think it's Brita. Is that how you say your name? People shoulding all over themselves. We don't.
Yeah.
I should do this and I'm just shoulding all over myself. That doesn't feel very good, no matter how you heard the words. Really, really cool.
Well, and an example of just what happened, this is important for you guys to know. It's like I'd forgotten I even got certified in that massage thing. That hasn't been part of my life assets thing of it, right? So now that this is coming up, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I want to go back to that part of my journey and see who was there during that time that maybe I could reach out to and interview on my podcast or connect with. Because that's how you are able to bring out more of your experiences, which help you with collaborating with all the things that you're doing. So it comes from conversations. Otherwise, all these memories are stuck in our head. And we don't remember the stuff that we've even done sometimes until we can talk and open it up.
Yeah, our subconscious is brilliant, isn't it? It's like, hold on. Yeah, they'll put all that stuff back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's almost 2. I can't believe the time just flew by. So having a conversation with someone is the new interviewing on stage. It's so cool. It's not lights and scary and crazy. It's comfort of your own home, talking to somebody about what they're doing and how cool it is. So much for being my first.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I loved it. It was so fun. And thanks you guys for joining us last minute. I know we just immediately set this up. So it was cool to have you guys here. Also, yeah, definitely. And then I'll have to bring you on where I get to interview you and find out all your stuff at some point too. That'd be fun.
That would be really fun. I look forward to meeting you in real life.
Oh yeah, I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, how you are. I don't know. We all look about the same night here, don't we? Yeah, that's how you are.
That's what's always so funny. Yeah, I'm excited to meet you in person.
Thank you so much again. Thank you everybody for showing up and thanks for cheering me on and I didn't even see anybody point fingers or call me names, which is so nice. So thank you.
You will get deleted if you ever do that. The safe space. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Sarah. Thank you.
See you later.
You guys. Bye.
Bye.